everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited that you are here. Today I am going to be talking about revising your novel. I'm super excited because I love revising. I am a pantser, and so revisions is really when I get a lot of the work done. Before we start, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notified every Wednesday when I post a new video. Let's go! Today, I am talking about revising your novel. I'm going to give you tips and tricks that I personally use, and I'm going to be talking about revisions the next 2 weeks in a row because they are so important. And a lot of people think revising a novel, especially when you're new, is just about changing the words and perhaps fixing grammar, but it's really about so much more than that. It's about the dialogue and the characters and making sure the story structure is working and making sure that the timeline works. And basically every single thing that you can think of in your story, you need to think about when you're revising. The first thing that I do is a tip that I heard from Martha Adelson, the plot whisperer. I'm going to show you the book. This is her workbook. I talk about it a little bit in this video. And I'm telling you guys that you should buy this book. I post a link in the description because it will help you so much. Now, a lot of you use Save the Cat. I also use Save the Cat. I was a screenwriter and a script doctor for a while, and I still actually work on screenplays. So I love Save the Cat, and there's also online software called Contour that's amazing. But this book has changed the way that I revise novels. You can also use it for planning. I like to use it in revisions. A few years ago, Martha and an agent, Jill Corcoran, actually had an online class about revising your novel, and it was amazing. I highly recommend that book. And what she says to do, and I did this before I met her, but didn't actually know why, is to take your novel when you finish and print the entire thing out. Now, I do that because I like to look at it, look at the words and read it. When I'm reading on a computer, I see it completely different than when I'm actually looking at a hard copy. So when you print the entire thing out, your mind is tricked in a way, so you will see it differently. You can print it out at home, or if you don't have a lot of ink or you don't have a good printer, you can just put it on a flash drive and head over to your FedEx, Kinko's, or any print shop, and they will do it for you, or you can do it in the self-serve kiosk. It's about 10 to 15 cents per page, depending on where you go. Now, the one thing that I'm going to recommend when you're printing out your novel is to keep it double spaced in Times Roman. You can use whatever font you like, but I like Times. I can just read it better. It's just easier on my eyes. But the reason you keep it double spaced is so you can make notes in the margin. When you put it single spaced, like an actual book is printed, it's not as easy to make notes. I literally make notes with a pen. I use all different colors for different things, but that's just me. I will get into that when I talk about those parts of the revising in another video. But for now, here's what I'm gonna say. This is what I do. It works for me, and I think that you will see it works for you too. Take that novel, print the entire thing out, and when you have it, it's probably about this big. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of my novel right now. I didn't print it out. Our printer's not hooked up yet. But you understand, a novel is about that big when you print it out. You know, it could be bigger, but mine are always around 60 to 80,000 words, so they're always about that big. So take the novel and literally divide it in half. And then take each of those halves and divide it in half again. Then open up to those sections and see what's happening. Now, in the Plot Whisperer workbook, Martha talks about the exotic world that the characters enter at the quarter mark. That is not the inciting incident. The inciting incident is before that. If you're a screenwriter or a TV writer and you have that background, you know about the inciting incident. That is really where your story kicks off. The exotic world is when the character decides or gets thrust into a world that is different than everything they've known. And it doesn't have to be a fantasy, but, example, when Harry goes to Hogwarts, his life is forever changed. And that, I believe, is at the quarter mark. I have to look at my Harry Potter book, but I think that it's at the quarter mark. If you start really looking at stories, books, movies, TV shows, and either stop the DVD or the DVR at the quarter mark or open that book at the quarter mark, you will see that things for the most popular stories and the ones that work really well do change at that point. It can be as simple of in The Fault in Our Stars, Hazel Grace and Gus start hanging out. That's when her life has changed because she is now accepting somebody into her life, whereas before at the beginning she was pushing everybody away. There's lots of examples online, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do this. Now, the middle of the book is your recommitment scene, or like James Scott Bell is an amazing writer and writing coach. He always talks about it's the mirror moment. It's really when your character is deciding how they're going to go. Are they going to go forward? They might be doing some reflection, or they might be digging their heels in. And this is I'm sticking to whatever it is that my beliefs are. It's really important. The middles get kind of mushy. I do have a video about the middles, and you can watch that one here. And I hope that one is helpful for you. Middles can be very sticky for some people, but they are very important. Now, for me, the third quarter of the book isn't always the climax, but it is very close to when everything comes to a head. Now, it's different in screenplays, it's different in TV shows. When you're writing like for network TV, you have to hit things because of commercials. But for novels, you have a little bit more flexibility, but really, I like to do it a little bit closer to the end, but you can do it at that 3/4 mark. Use it as a guide, and that is when things are horrible for your character. Things have gotten worse, whatever they're going through, even in a comedy. Look at The 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's an old movie from, I think, 2006, maybe 2005, but it's very funny and it's very, very, very well done. Now, that is a comedy, but at that mark, Steve Carell is questioning everything. Has he made the right decisions? Is he with the right woman? I mean, at that point, she has basically sold off all his toys, and I think he's alienated from most of his friends. Like, things are not going well for him, even though it's a comedy. In Groundhog Day, you look at Phil, and at that point, he is sick of being rich. He is sick of sleeping with everybody in town. He's sick of everything that he's been doing since he found out that he could relive his life. And he is at a low point because he is in love with this woman and he doesn't know how to get her. Nothing he has done is working and he feels stuck. So it is a low point. So really, really same thing as I said about the beginning. Look at movies, look at books, and really study those things. That's what I do. It's my first step when I am revising, is to print it out and look for those markers, which again are the 1st quarter mark, which is when they enter into a new world. Everything is different for that character than it was on the day that the story started. The middle, that recommitment scene or the mirror moment, whatever you want to call it, it is that character either standing ground or deciding that they're going to change things a bit and go on a different path. The path, it helps the plot move forward. And then at the 3/4 mark, when everything gets really, really bad for your character. That is my advice. That is what I do. It works for me. I highly recommend, again, the Plot Whisperer workbook, and I'm going to put a link in the description for you. And I hope that this helps and you get started on those revisions, and I will see you next week. Well, I will be talking more about revising character and dialogue instead of the overarching plot, which is this week is really, and the first step that I do is work on the plot. So I hope that's helpful, and I will see you soon.